Hello, friends. This is Dr. Rahul Kamath here, once again from Ursa Medica, the dedicated medical astrology channel. This is the second in the series of talks on Agni. So, Agni at Vedic astrology. If you recollect, the first one was Agni as a Vedic deity, the attributes of Agni, from the first sukta and of the first mandala of the Rig Veda. Now, here today, I am excited to talk to you about how Agni finds significance in Vedic astrology and particularly at the level of the nakshatras. But before we go further, let me once again welcome you to this channel and let me just share with you one achievement. I can call it a mini achievement. Uh, I have reached 60 subscribers for this channel, and I'm very happy. This is a very discerning audience and a very discerning content. Okay, so thank you so much once again, and with this we move ahead. Now, you may recollect that this is what we had discussed last time. This was the first sukta of the first mandal of the Rig Veda. Agnimile purohitam yajnasya devam rutwijam hotaram ratnadhatamam. Now, I have kept this slide because I shall be referring to this slide as well as this slide, which is actually the various attributes of Agni. So, we have tried to uncover uh, the various aspects of the Vedic deity Agni. What really Agni stands for? Agni as a primordial principle in the Veda. We have Agni, uh, various aspects and attributes of Agni. Okay, so we will be referring to this again and again as we discuss today's topic. Today's topic specifically is Agni in Jyotish. Now we find that when we talk of Jyotish, when we talk of Vedic Jyotish, we are essentially speaking of Nakshatra Jyotish. Because the nakshatras are the fixed, unchanging part of the heavens. One could also say that the Rashis, the 12 zodiac signs, were in a way sort of superimposed on the nakshatras, which is the fixed part of the heavens. So, therefore, if we want to find meaning uh, of the Vedic deities, we have to find the meanings at the level of the nakshatras. And each of the 27 nakshatras, uh, which we routinely study, actually, if we include Abhijit, then there are 28 nakshatras, but we routinely study from Ashwini to Revati, all the 27 nakshatras. Each of these have a Vedic deity or a devata, which actually is the primordial principle which is animating the graha, which is the planetary lord of that nakshatra. There are two nakshatras where we find Agni as a part of the Vedic deity. The first nakshatra I want to talk about, therefore, is Kritika. Now, you know, the the story of Kritika begins with a with a yajna or a sacrificial kind of a um, program which was organized by Prajapati Daksha. Prajapati Daksha, as you know, is one of the one of the mind borns of Brahma, and he is the administrator of the cosmos, as it were, along with the Saptarshis. So he organizes a yajna to which, of course, Agni is invited. Agni is part of the yajna itself. Now, when we talk of Agni here, we have to understand Agni not as a uh, you know not as a person, but Agni is personified here, but Agni is the element here. So the sacrifice itself consists of Agni, and there are ahutis or oblations offered to Agni. Now Agni is present there, as well as there are the wives of the Saptarshis also who are present there along with the Saptarshis. And Agni is at once infatuated, enormously infatuated with the wives of the Saptarshis. They are decked out in their finest, uh, you know, finest clothes. You can imagine their resplendence, you know, uh, the kind of luminosity that they exhibit. And Agni is absolutely infatuated. But unknown to him, a daughter of Prajapati called Swaha is actually in love with Agni. And after the sacrifice is over, Agni is wandering in the forests, as the Vedic mythology tells us. And Swaha comes to him, and she comes to him in the guise of the wives of the Saptarshis. So she tries to impersonate the wives of the Saptarshis, except for Arundhati, who is the wife of the Rishi Vasishtha. All the other six wives she kind of impersonates, or she pretends to be, and she basically, each of these, uh, she professes love to Agni, and what follows is mating, love making between Swaha, impersonating as the wives of the Saptarshis, and Agni. And uh, what typically happens is that there is a scandal created in the cosmos at that time, and therefore these six wives of the Saptarshis are banished by the Saptarshis from their homes. Okay. Now, meanwhile, what happens out of the lovemaking of Swaha and Agni is that each time, each time Swaha makes love with Agni, the seed is created. Seed, as in, the sperm which is ejaculated, and this is collected and secretly nurtured in a mountain. Okay, now this is how the Vedic mythology goes, and we have to look at the Vedic mythology not in a literal sense. We have to look at it in a figurative, in a metaphorical sense, in terms of what it would be meaning. And from this seed or sperm springs or comes to birth Skanda. Skanda is basically is six-headed, and later on this actually grows up what is called as Kartikeya. Now these six wives are now, who are banished, they are secretly nurturing this Skanda, and hence they are called Krittikas. Krittika, the word Krittika means critical. Uh, it indicates something sharp, something like a cutting object. In fact, the English word critical also comes from Krittika. Okay, and the symbol of this nakshatra is also a axe or a cutting object, one of the symbols. So these Krittikas are actually secretly nurturing this Skanda, who is now called Kartikeya. Kartikeya is the child of the Krittikas in a way. So the maternal instinct of Krittikas is in full bloom. They are also fiercely protective of this child. And now you see here the connection. The the deity, the Vedic deity of Krittika is Agni. Of the nakshatra Krittika, the Vedic deity is Agni. Okay, and so this is one of the deity. The other deity of Krittika is Kartikeya also. So you find that uh, the end product of the whole nakshatra, what these Krittikas are trying to protect and nurture, is Kartikeya, and therefore Agni is the primary deity of Krittika. Here, Agni can be understood as a fire. It's a fire which is both physical and mental. It is the fire which is also nurturing. It is the fire which is cutting, which is burning, and in the end, it is fire or Agni as a purifying principle. Okay, so uh, in the end, what happens is that the outcome of this is we have basically uh, Kartikeya, who is nurtured and who is uh, basically made ready for war. Because as we know, Kartikeya is the Senapati of the Devas. He is the commander in chief of the Devas in their fight or in their battle against the Asuras. Okay, coming to the second slide of Kritika, here you can see in front of you. Uh, Now the planetary lord of Kritika is Sun. Okay, the Vedic deity is Agni. Now we have to now bring out the connection between the Vedic deity and the planetary lord, because the planetary lord is in a way a handyman, or is in a way a instrument of the Vedic deity to act. So here you have the sun. Sun would mean both Agni as well as Shiva in terms of its Vedic astrological significations. So therefore, one could even say that since Shiva, the destroyer, could not directly participate in the battle between the Devas and the Asuras, because if Shiva participated in the battle between the Devas and the Asuras, all of the cosmos would be burned down. So therefore he has to stay out of it. But how he can contribute is through his seed. So one way of looking at Kartikeya is that it is actually Shiva's seed, or also, as the Vedic mythology stories goes, Agni's seed. Okay, so there are multiple variations of the story. Now Kritika Nakshatra uh, is, you find that the first pada of Kritika is in Aries, and the remaining three padas are in Taurus. Now you have to understand, the first pada of Kritika is Dhanu Navamaush, or the Sagittarius Navamaush. The last Navamaush of Aries is the first pada of Kritika, and that is the Sagittarius is the original ninth house of the Kala Purush. It is the Dharma Trikon. It is the key house in the Dharma Trikon. It is where Guru is Mula Trikon. Okay, so you find that therefore there is something very holy, something very dharmic, something uh, something almost you can say godly about this Navamaush. And therefore Kritika Nakshatra in Aries, uh, it is governed certainly by Mars. So there is a fieriness of Mars there, because the Lord of Aries is Mars. It is the Sagittarius Navamaush. So again, it's a fiery Navamaush. Okay, and again the planetary lord is Sun. So you have the fiery but the holy, sanctifying, fiery part of Kritika in Aries, and then you have the three padas in Taurus. Now Taurus lord is Venus. So here you find the Venus, in a sense, the maternal or the feminine instinct of the Kritikas comes into fore. So initially, having fought with the world to protect this seed, now they are nurturing this seed so that it grows up into Skanda, as we have covered in the previous slide. And again, here you find that if you see the Naumaush, if you see uh, the Naumaushas, the second, third, and the fourth padas of Kritika, and the first three Naumaushas of Taurus, you see here Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So here you have Capricorn and Aquarius, if Saturnine influence also, which is hidden, and then you have the Pisces. So it is actually, uh, you have the Saturn and the Jupiter uh, influence at the level of the nakshatra padas in the overall feminine influence of Venus in Taurus. Okay, so here essentially the fire element transmutes into the earth element, which is very important. That because Taurus is a earth sign, and because this is the earth element, um, and as already mentioned, it's a fertile soil for things to grow. And of course, you have the sun as the planetary lord of this nakshatra. So you have, therefore, the moon finds itself in exaltation in Kritika, okay, in Taurus. So moon at 3 degrees in Taurus, Kritika is considered to be exalted. Okay, why? Because after all, moon will find its glory from the reflected rays of the sun, and here sun is the planetary lord, and you find the fertile soil of Taurus there, okay, in Kritika. So therefore moon is exalted in Kritika. So this is one more additional explanation I am giving. Now, what is the Shakti of this nakshatra? We call it Dahana Shakti, heat above, light below. Okay, so it is actually, it creates heat, it creates that impenetrable, kind of a cutting, burning, uh, obst- kind of heat, which is the obstacle for anybody to come and disturb, you know the nurturing process. And then the outcome is that light below. So it will actually create light. In fact, the second symbol of this nakshatra, the first symbol I mentioned to you earlier was axe or a cutting instrument. The second important symbol is a peacock. Now peacock is also the vahana, or the vehicle of Kartikeya. And peacock, if you see a peacock dancing, you see that the light rays really reflect in their in multifaceted glory, in the plumage of the peacock. It's actually the utmost refinement of the light element. Okay, so therefore, even in that way, one could understand this heat above, light below. And finally, we have to understand this is a kind of a secret cosmic game plan, because that time the kingdom of the Devas or the Indra Loka was besieged by Asuras. Probably Indra was powerless that time. The Devas could not really counter the Asuras, and the danger was that the cosmos would have fallen into disorder, into chaos. Okay, and the Devas needed a commander in chief, somebody who can marshal the forces and attack the Asuras head on. And therefore, the game plan was to create this Senapati, this commander in chief, who is basically Kartikeya. Okay, and for this, a very elaborate plan had to be constructed, wherein Agni's infatuation with these six wives, and then them being banished by their wife, by their husbands. Now it is difficult to imagine that these chaste wives would be banished by their husbands, uh, particularly if these sages were omniscient. So obviously it was a game plan. They were kind of spirited away for the cosmic world at that time. It was told that they have been banished, but actually they were nurturing this Kartikeya. Okay, and therefore, coming back to the original first sukta, first mandala of the Rig Veda, Agni as a Hotaram, it says Hotaram Ratna Dhatamam in the end. Hotaram, the word Hotaram indicates the warrior spirit of Agni. It indicates Agni in its belligerent, um, aggressive, burning mode. And Yajna here is the sacrifice, the supplication of these kritikas, of these saptarshis, of these rishipatnis who later became kritikas, for the purpose of this, uh, you know, um, uh, uh, of this nakshatra. Okay, so this is basically my take on Kritika. Nakshatra Devata is Agni and Kartikeya. Okay, now I am going to the second nakshatra. The second nakshatra, which is very important in Vedic Jyotish, where Agni plays a role, is Vishakha. Now, before I go to Vishakha, kindly notice Kritika's lettering on top. You see, the first two alphabets are in one color, orange, and the remaining alphabets are in magenta. Actually, this is how the nakshatra is actually divided. First pada in Aries and the remaining in Taurus. So I just thought this was a fun way of putting it across. Now we go to Vishakha. Now Vishakha here, again there are two slides. Notice the lettering of Vishakha again in the beginning itself. I am saying this. You have the last two letters in green and all the preceding letters in blue. So most of this nakshatra is in Libra and the last pada is in Scorpio, but more of that later. Right? Now before we start discussing, let us first understand, um, you know, uh, let us first understand what this nakshatra is all about, and then come to Agni. Basically, um, another name for Vishakha is Radha. But why Radha? And first of all, what does the name Vishakha indicate? The name Vishakha basically, Shakha, as we know in Prakrit or in Indian languages, is a branch. Vishakha is a forked branch. It's like a fork in the road. Should I go right? Should I go left? Right? It's like a fork in the road. It's a forked branch. So the Vedic symbol of Vishaka is a forked branch, and there is a fundamental dichotomy. There is a duality in this nakshatra, which we will speak about. And the other name of this nakshatra is Radha. Now, Radha, as we know very well, was the paramour, was the lover of Krishna. And what we perhaps all of us do not know is that Radha was a married woman. So here is this married woman, this Gauran, this woman belonging to the cowherd community, who was in love with Krishna. Maybe there were several other women who were infatuated with Krishna, but she was in love with Krishna, and she always had this dilemma that should I not? I am a married woman. Should I go with Krishna? Should I not go with Krishna? So there were two forks in the road for Radha, and therefore people born in this nakshatra are having a fundamental dichotomy in their soul, and this dichotomy or this dilemma starts actually with the Vedic deity itself, because you have Indragni as the deity of Vishakha, and Indragni is made up of two parts, Indra and Agni. Okay, now in the Vedic literature, in the Rig Veda, you have a lot of mention of Indra. Indra is the most profusely mentioned Vedic deity. You know, Indra is one who is overcoming obstacles, who is the king of the devas, who is who is all the time drinking soma, to replenish himself. He is vanquishing enemies. He has a thunderbolt. He can go to any length to win. He has even gone to the length of seducing the um, uh, uh, rishis with the help of the apsaras, just because he was always insecure about his own place in heaven. So Indra is somebody who is like a absolute alpha male, like alpha male raised to alpha male kind of a entity. So you have this part of Vishakha. So one of the deities is Indra, Indragni, and the other part is Agni. Now Agni is a Vishakha person, a person with a moon in Vishakha will have to win at any cost. These people are extremely good at making money. They are particularly good in the material world. And the other part of Indragni is Agni, as I said. Now, Agni here, we have spoken of Agni, we have spoken of the nurturing Agni, we have spoken of the protecting Agni, we have spoken of the sacrificial Agni. But here, this Agni is the Agni of burning desire. It is what burns, it's burning passion. It is not easily satiated. There is a difference between this Agni and the Agni of Kritika. The Kritika Agni is cutting, burning, but it is more purifying. It seeks to protect the holy purpose for which the Kritikas actually are protecting the seed of Skanda. Here, the Agni is going ahead at any cost. It is not easily satiated. It is very selfish. Okay, and I will come to it later, but you will realize that this nakshatra is connected with agriculture. Okay, but more of that later. Essentially, this nakshatra, you find that uh, the Vishakha nakshatra is basically divided between Libra and Scorpio. Now, Libra is a airy sign. Okay, it is a Vayu Tattva, and Libra's lord is Venus. So you have three parts of Vishakha which are in Venus influence of Libra, and the last pada or the last fourth part of Vishakha is in Scorpio. Okay, which is in basically a watery sign, and Scorpio ruler being Mars. Okay, but the overarching influence of Vishakha is its nakshatra lord, which is Jupiter. So look here, you have Indragni as the deities. I already spoke to you of the nature of Indragni. It's a very unstable, very aggressive kind of a Vedic deity, and it is seeking only to kind of win. Okay, and then you have basically uh, you have this Vedic deity which is governing the planetary lord here, which is Jupiter. So Jupiter in an expansionary mode. So Jupiter here is supporting Indra and Agni to achieve what they want at any cost. So it's a very expansionary, very aggressive Jupiter. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here. Okay, and in fact, the symbol of this nakshatra is a gateway, a adorned gateway. It's like a gateway of a victory procession. Okay, now what happens is that in this nakshatra, the fourth pada of the nakshatra is in, as I said, is in Scorpio, the first navamoush of Scorpio, and that is the Cancer navamoush. And Jupiter, as we know, is exalted in Cancer. So what really happens is that after all these wars, in all this striving in the Rashi of Libra, you know, all this, all the whole effect of Indragni, all the victories won, and even with so much happening, still that person is not really satisfied with what he's achieving. When we reach pada 4, you find Jupiter exalted there. So that is a time when, uh, since also the Rashi is a watery sign, the sign becomes watery, things quieten down a little, and this is where the nakshatra finds completion. So for evolved souls, uh, if if your moon is in Vishakha 4th pada, eventually you will find salvation after a lot of struggle. Now here, because of the aspect of the watery, the 4th pada of Vishakha being in a watery sign and in a watery Navamaush, Cancer Navamaush, therefore here you find, going back here, it is a significator of agriculture, because Indra stands for the storm, it stands for the airy storms from the heavens, the rain, and all that. And then you find fire, which is actually the fire which will allow the agriculture to happen. So therefore, you have the Ratna Dhatamam aspect of, uh, again from the Sukta 1 of the Mandala 1 of the Rig Veda, that Hotaram Ratna Dhatamam. So the bestower of jewels. Agni is a bestower of jewels. Okay, I would ask you to refer to the first slide or the previous presentation if you are still in doubt about what this means. And therefore, here you see, uh, the Shakti of Vishaka is the Vyapana Shakti, the power to manifest widely and achieve widely. Okay, so here you find Agni in a different form. Okay, so this is what really Agni is about, and this concludes uh, my analysis of Agni in Vedic astrology. There are two nakshatras, as we've already discussed. One is Kritika and the other is Vishakha. And just to summarize and to connect both of them, if you notice, both of them have a dual aspect. The Kritikas have a dual aspect of cutting, fiercely protecting, and fiercely aggressive, but at the same time nurturing. So two different parts: a very masculine, aggressive, cutting aspect, and a very feminine, nurturing, maternal aspect. So Kritika. And here you have in Vishaka, the dichotomy is as wide as it can be. It starts with the Vedic deity Indragni, and then even going down, this nakshatra is about, it's really about achieving a lot at one level, and you know two forks in the road, always two forks in the road. Okay, so therefore, in fact, both these nakshatras are called, what are called as Mishra nakshatras. Okay, so with this, my analysis of Agni in Vedic astrology is complete. My next presentation will be on Varuna as a Vedic deity. As you can see, I am at this time fascinated by Vedic deities, and I realized that that's really the that's really where it lies in terms of Jyotish, and that's what I intend to explore further, and I'll be happy to share uh, my insights with all of you guys. Thank you so much, and if you like what I do, please share this video. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and if you wish to consult me, my email ID is mentioned below. Okay. Thank you so much. God bless. See you next time.